Hey, what's up, expats and travelers alike? I am Josh with Expats Everywhere.
And I'm Kalie.
And in this video today, we're going to chat with you guys about traveling during this whole pandemic thing. So we just spent a month on the road, more or less. We got back just a week ago. We spent a month on the road, a little longer than we had planned because of COVID.
That's right. So we had a European travel, all figured out, we thought, and we ended up getting stuck when we ended up leaving the EU. So we'll chat a little bit about the travels that we planned and what happened with COVID and the restrictions going on right now. And then, of course, answer your questions that you guys have.
Yeah, so if a question pops to mind, just put that in the comments section. But without further ado, let's just get cranking on how things went. So we left Porto and we flew to Frankfurt, and we met a friend there. And the next day, we actually left and went via train to Luxembourg. And that was all pretty fine, although we did try to stop during one of the changeovers on the train and eat in a town in Germany. And
in Germany, it was actually really strict. We had to show a vaccine and a test, and not a test just like that you could do in front of them, but we had to go. They had little pop-up tents everywhere that you could get them done.
Yeah, and it depended on the state. So we experienced, I think, 2 or 3 states while we were there, and there were different regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't really following whatever the regulations were. Not that we weren't following the regulations.
We weren't checking them.
We weren't checking the regulations in the different states because, it just didn't dawn on us that it would switch like that so quickly.
Right. So Germany seemed pretty strict. But then in Luxembourg, it wasn't too bad. I mean, obviously checking into hotels and everything, you had to show at least a vaccine. And then in Luxembourg, they were doing the Christmas markets just like in Germany. And for some of the areas that had food and drink, they had separated them and you had to show your vaccine to get into those areas.
That's right. And in the hotel in Luxembourg, we had to, or we got, no, it wasn't a bracelet. What was it?
It was like a little card. So instead of having to show our vaccine every time we came in, we had this little card they filled out with our information so we could just show that to them. Now, they obviously recognized us. It was a really nice hotel. So I don't even think we had to show that at all. I think at one changeover, like the staff hadn't seen us in the morning when we had checked in the day before. So they did ask for that. But other than that, they recognized us, so we didn't have to show it. But that was a nice little touch because then you didn't have to show it every single time. You just kind of had your card if they hadn't recognized you.
Yeah, and just comparing the two, I mean, because we were kind of in Germany for about 24 hours until making it to Luxembourg, we immediately noticed that the feeling behind COVID was a little different between the two. I think it certainly felt stricter in Germany than it did Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm.
Not that people in Luxembourg weren't taking precautions, but it just I don't know, the attitude towards it felt different.
Yeah, because it was live music at the Christmas market area that had the food and wine. So that was nice. I think it had been a while since we had seen that. And the night before we went to Luxembourg, we did go to the big market in Frankfurt, and it was really spread out, but it just had a different feel compared to the one, like you said, in Luxembourg. It was just a little stricter there in Frankfurt than it was compared to Luxembourg.
Yeah, so after Luxembourg, 3 days there, we went back to Frankfurt, and we were there for a total of 6 or 7 days. We stayed in 2 different parts of the city. I mean, both were kind of in the downtown area, but just in 2 maybe smaller neighborhoods.
Now, the reason that we chose Frankfurt is because we met a friend from Singapore, and Germany was one of the first designated travel lanes open between Singapore and Germany. So that meant that she had less restrictions. She didn't have to quarantine going into Singapore. So Germany was one of the first ones. So a lot of Singaporeans went there, and then France also. But we just chose Frankfurt because it was a city that none of us had been to before. Mm-hmm. And that's why we did that. And it worked out too, because it gave us the chance to pop over to Luxembourg because they're quite close. So that's why we did Frankfurt. So we were there, and we could definitely tell that Germany seemed stricter.
Yeah.
And then
well, let me say this first. For those Americans who haven't traveled much of Europe or who haven't traveled Europe at all, it's really easy to cross borders. So when we were traveling to and from Germany to Luxembourg, there was no border check. So you just cross, and we were on train, you just cross, and that's it.
That's the agreement they have in the EU. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
And actually, one just fun fact that we learned once we got into Luxembourg, they have a recent movement to where all public transportation is free.
Mention that too.
I mean, it's crazy. It's a new thing. all of it's free, and it's an effort because a lot of people have cars and it's a small country, and especially Luxembourg City is very small, so there's a lot of traffic. So they decided just to make all public transportation in the whole country free. So you have to pay for your ticket essentially when you're in Germany, and then when you get to Luxembourg, even the trains, the trams, the buses, all that stuff is free. So how cool is that?
Very cool. So you wanted me to go ahead and transition from Germany to Poland?
Yeah, because we went from strict Germany to Warsaw.
Which it just seemed like there was like very little concern about COVID at all.
No,
getting into Ubers, the drivers wouldn't have masks on, or they would be down like around their neck. Going into the hotel, I don't think, but maybe 10% of the hotel guests had masks on.
And there was a sign.
It was recommended.
Yeah,
that
there was a sign
masks.
to have it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't. So it made it confusing because at first you couldn't see the sign. It was just on one of those nice scrolling things, like virtual type things. And so I didn't see it at first. So I was like, do we have to wear a mask here? So I asked the front desk and she did say it's recommended.
Yeah, it was funny. So, I mean, in saying that, it felt very normal.
It was actually really nice.
It felt very normal there.
I mean, being at those Christmas markets outside, people weren't wearing masks. A lot inside weren't wearing masks. So it was nice. Just feel a bit normal.
We were staying at the Sofitel Victoria, which is kind of in the middle of the old city and then the new, not city, but like the old downtown. I think they call that the old city, but the new part is not called the new city, but it's like
built
that.
Up like businessy.
No, it's not. Though. It's not. Warsaw's really spread out too. But just to give you guys an idea, it's kind of in the middle of this geographical area, and the distance between the two is maybe 2 kilometers, or it felt that way, maybe 3 kilometers. But anyways, walking around that area and spending the majority of our time in that area, I was really surprised at how expensive it was.
Yeah.
Like I felt like we were spending a lot more money than we had anticipated.
Mm-hmm. But that hotel was beautiful. It was a really nice hotel. The staff was great. They had a really nice pool, like an indoor pool. Because when we landed, there was snow on the ground. So we missed the snow. Like I was hoping to see snow on this trip. And on Christmas Day in Germany, there were flurries, I guess you could call. A friend, I showed a picture to a friend and she called them dust, it like snow dust. And that's pretty much what it was. So I was like, okay. And then there was a decent sized snow in Warsaw right before we landed. So there was snow on the ground. So that was Sia's first time, touching snow. She liked it for the first 2 minutes and then found out it's really cold.
Yeah.
Done with this.
So I guess we didn't mention this. We did fly from Germany to Poland.
Yeah.
That was all fairly normal in terms of normal COVID times. You had to wear a mask on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we didn't have to go through passport control. So we were pretty quick through the airport, especially like taking the express route with the stroller.
That's good, yeah.
Now, here's where things shift.
True. And surgical masks are required as well.
Yeah, you can't
on the
wear
trains
cloth masks.
and planes and stuff. So Warsaw was really great. We had a really good experience. And then the next leg of the trip was to Kyiv. So we knew we'd be leaving the EU. The reason we did that is we have some friends there and we were going to spend Orthodox Christmas with them. So we thought this was a really good opportunity to do that with people that we know.
All right. So those that aren't familiar with Ukraine and Kyiv, you're still in continental Europe. However, you're not in the EU anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's a different currency. It's different. Not that, yeah.
Poland's a different currency too.
Poland's a different currency.
There's but
different currency and guidelines to follow.
Guidelines is the big one, yeah. So leaving Poland, we did have to go through passport control. We had to show our vaccine. We had to have a test. No, actually, Poland, we didn't have to have a test. We had to have, from Poland, we had to have insurance. So to get into the Ukraine, they required health insurance that would cover COVID for the duration of your stay. And they did actually check that.
Yeah, they did. They checked it. I don't understand what that insurance is about because it didn't really help us.
Well, actually, we got it for the days we were going to be there. And then, we got COVID the day before. So we could have extended it, but I felt fine. So, I mean, it was only for hospitalization. Which we didn't go to, so.
Yeah, it got very complicated to actually get any money out of it had we extended. I think had we extended, we would have been out more money than it was worth extending it. So we just didn't even do it. And it was very complicated. with that
Josh called
insurance.
them to find out.
Yeah.
Because the main thing that we wanted to see is if we could get flight reimbursements because we had already booked flights. When we were supposed to go from Kyiv to Malta. Are we going there already?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So we were supposed
We'll
to
double back to Ukraine, but yeah.
We were supposed to fly from Kyiv to Malta. And the reason we chose Malta is because when we were booking everything, we just said, okay, we don't want to fly all the way back to Portugal with SIA. So where's some place that kind of gets us in that direction? We just went on Skyscanner, just did anywhere to find the cheapest flights. And there were flights for like €11 from Kyiv to Malta. And then there was a direct flight from Malta to Porto a few days later. So we're like, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and do that because we had never been to Malta. So we thought, new place to see.
Yeah. So we got hit with a double whammy though. A couple of days before our flight to Malta, we get an email from Ryanair, and Ryanair said that the flight from Malta to Porto had been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're scrambling to figure out how do we get from Malta back to Porto in not a roundabout way. We didn't want to have a bunch of stopovers. We also didn't want to spend a bunch of money.
Or get into someplace really late and then have to leave the next morning. We just didn't want to throw off Sia because at that point we were at 2 hours ahead, different time zones. So we didn't want to throw her off too much with like not much sleep in an actual bed.
Yeah. Right. So we started actually planning some logistical stuff, getting into Malta a couple of days before that flight. And that's when we realized that if we're coming from the Ukraine, we have
hold
to.
On. We had already changed the flight.
Yes, we had.
We changed the flight and rerouted through Madrid. We've got friends there, so we thought we'll stay a couple days there. So Malta to Madrid, Madrid to Porto, and we changed that.
So
and then
with Ryanair, that's set in stone.
Yeah.
So then we start looking on, what some of the travel restrictions are getting into Malta.
I went to fill out the passenger locator form.
And that's when we find out that we have a 14-day quarantine, regardless of tests or anything, when we fly in from out of in the red.
How would I explain this? Because I'm the one who actually
you researched it.
Okay, so I went on to fill out the passenger locator form because that's another thing that all of the places are requiring now as well. Passenger locator form, so they know where you're staying. So I went on to fill that out for Malta, and I found out that the Ukraine now is on their dark red list, which that means you have to have prior approval just to get into the country. So it's for special reasons, not even for tourism. And even with that, you still have to have a 14-day quarantine. So
can I pause there?
Yeah.
We checked and it was not like this when we left.
When we booked stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So not really sure what happened or when it actually happened because obviously we booked stuff a while back. So no idea when that shift happened. But at the time that we needed it, it was on the dark red list. Yeah. So we were like, well, great. We just changed these flights, but now we can't even get into Malta. So let's just go back from Kyiv to Portugal.
And we're going to get back to the whole Kyiv thing, but let's go ahead and finish our flight route and explain the COVID measures that we confronted. So when we were finally able to leave the Ukraine, we found a flight, one stop through London that got us back to Porto. Okay.
No, that's not the one we booked to Lisbon. Remember?
No.
The first one we booked, we booked a lot of different
Yes. But let's just explain how we got back.
And okay. I see it.
You know what I'm.
Yeah, when we actually got back, the flight we actually took.
Okay. Yeah. We don't have to tell them all of the struggles we had canceling flights and hotels and. So anyways, so we were traveling back through London and there was that passenger locator form again. We arrive at the airport in Kyiv and
in Gatwick.
No, in Kyiv. Okay. And we're looking to get on the plane. We arrived a bit late. We were rushed with Valencia and the Ukrainian guy starts asking for the passenger locator form.
Which we had for Portugal because we're going to Portugal.
Yeah.
And I had researched several days before London to make sure before we booked the flight that we could actually go through London because it's not part of the EU. And I didn't know if they had some strange restrictions. And I remember seeing something about a passenger locator form, but I was like, I'll double back. Well, the night before, I completely forgot to go back and double check. And so we filled out the passenger locator form for Portugal. So when we get we're trying to get on the plane in Kyiv, he's like, passenger locator form. So I'm showing it to him because we have it for Portugal. Yeah. And he's like, what's this? And it says in English, passenger locator form. And I was like, passenger locator form, man. Or going to Portugal. And so he let us through.
Yes. So we arrive in Gatwick and, we get through to the security checkpoint to the like immigration. And the lady,
which they're making everyone go through. That's the other thing that's kind of new too.
The lady asks us for the passenger locator form, And we're like, we're not staying here. Like, you can
In
locate
transit.
us. You can locate us. We're in Gatwick. We're trying to catch our plane, which is in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we go?
Yeah, because we were literally in transit. So I mean, as we're going up to it, because the other thing is they weren't just letting in transit people go through a different international area. They were making everyone go through immigration and then go back to departures through security. So it's as if you left and then came back in. That's what they're doing right now because of COVID. So that's why everyone has to fill out this passenger locator form through London. And apparently there's a spot on there that says in transit that you're supposed to check off.
Tick. So anybody who's going through the UK, fill out that passenger locator form.
Yeah. So the lady called someone, explained, I have 3 Americans who are trying to get through and their flight's in 30 minutes, and they let us go through.
And she told us to run.
She told us to run. Josh made a funny comment though after we left, obviously, but it's like, if you don't want us staying in your country unwelcome longer then let us go. Just let us go and off we go. So we did, and we didn't actually run. We walked fast, but
yeah,
we made it.
So the flight leaving the Ukraine to London, it was full, more or less full. However, the flight coming from London back to Porto was maybe 30% full. It was very empty. I feel very bad for TAP.
Yeah. Oh, and the flight from Kyiv to London was like 30 minutes delayed. That was another reason why we were rushed as well.
Yes. So arriving back in Portugal, in Porto, felt so grateful.
Yeah.
The weather was amazing. It was warm.
We stood out in the sun because it was so snowy in Kyiv. So Josh was just like, sun.
Yeah. We got asked for our negative COVID test that was done at a clinic, a rapid antigen test.
The passenger locator form.
Which
is a little QR code.
Yeah. And the airport was pretty quiet. The Gatwick airport was extremely quiet. For those of you who fly through Gatwick, very, very quiet. I couldn't
believe it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's double back to Kyiv, and then we'll take some of the questions and chat with people.
Yep, explain stuff about how COVID's affecting things right now and requirements that you need.
So we planned on being there for 4 days, and in preparation for us to leave, we went ahead and we got our COVID test done, and that is when I was positive.
Okay, so we were there from the 4th to the 8th, and originally the 8th we were going to fly to Malta. And since we had to scrap that and fly directly back to Portugal on the 7th in the morning, we went to get the tests. Josh was positive. I was negative.
So we had a very quick chat, and it wasn't very serious about, how about you leave and I'll stay, I'll wait this out. Yeah, it really wasn't thought out.
No, because I was like, I don't want to leave you. Then I'm flying back with Valencia by myself. And you weren't feeling great. You weren't 100%.
No, I wasn't.
So I was like, what if you need help with something? I'll just stay. It'll probably be a couple more days, and explain like the lines. Because you had
yes.
So why we only thought it would be a couple more days.
Yeah. So on these rapid antigen tests, you drop your bodily fluids.
Well, they do it at the lab, right?
In the nose, they drop this solution, and what will come up, hopefully, is one line. Now, 2 means that you're positive, and the 2 can look different. So the first line, the top line, is going to be solid, but the bottom line can be solid, or it can be kind of faint or weak. And what they were telling me at the clinic was that the weak could mean that it's either just coming on or it's just leaving. So I had felt kind of dodgy a couple of days prior. So I was like, oh, I'm feeling better today. So maybe this is leaving my system. No.
So that's kind of what we were going off of. So we thought, we'll just be a few more days. We'll catch a flight together in a couple of days. Worst case scenario is I get it, because I was negative at that time.
Yeah.
I was feeling completely fine though. I guess in hindsight, it was not a massive surprise that Josh was positive, because you weren't feeling great. So it's like, it could be that. I
was sick.
But then it was like, how is it possible that you're not feeling great? I feel fine. We're together all the time. We weren't being very careful about food and all that stuff, when you're married and you're around each other, right? So trying each other's drinks, because we were getting different drinks all along the way.
Yeah.
So how is it possible that he's positive and I'm negative? Well, 2 days later, we went and bought the at-home tests, which were actually pretty hard to find in Kyiv, and oddly enough, more expensive to go and buy an at-home test than it was to actually go to a lab and have them do it for you and get the certificate.
Yeah, in a lab it was like $10 and $10 US, and then to buy it in the clinic, in a pharmacy, it was
like 15,
12 to 15.
Yeah, different currency.
Yep.
So we went ahead and we found some of those because we thought, well, there's no point in us going to the lab if Josh was still positive. And then it was like, I should take it as well. And at that point, we were both positive.
Both solid lines.
Dark lines, positive. So we're like, okay, I guess we'll just wait this out. So we were in a hotel. We switched to an Airbnb to be a little more comfortable with a kitchen, not have to, go out as much. Because obviously we were trying to be very respectful of that. The thing that was tough, I think, is it was so cold. So we would go out and do walks to be outside. And, Sia would run around for a little bit. But probably about 20 minutes in, she'd go, hotel, hotel, hotel. She just was so cold that she was over it, even as bundled as she was.
Yeah. So basically every 3 days from then on out, we were going back and testing.
Yeah, we were just doing it at a lab because we couldn't find any of the at-home tests. And the ladies at the lab, I think, felt really bad for us. They were really rooting for us because we're like, we can't leave. Like I checked everywhere in the EU because I thought, let's just get into the EU, because there was another thing. Tensions with Russia were starting to get worse. We're like, let's just get back into the EU. Every place needed some sort of a test, whether it was a PCR or the antigen, and it had to be done at the lab.
So several days after we tested at home and we're both positive, I tested again in a lab and I was fine. And I wasn't feeling 100% either. This was what the weird thing was. I wasn't feeling 100%. Kaylee was fine, and Kaylee tested positive.
Literally at the lab, I came out and I was like, I'm positive still. And Josh went back thinking he's going to be positive. And I could hear him say, I'm negative.
I was like, how's that possible?
How's that possible? I'm the one who's not feeling great. So then Josh was negative and I was positive. And we just kind of had to wait it out.
The whole time, Valencia was pretty normal. Yeah. Like she started to have like
she had one day where she just had a little bit of a fever,
sinus, and fever,
a little bit of a fever on one day, but still acting completely normal and
happy.
After that, just her normal self. She did end up getting the morning we left. When she woke up, she had a little bit of a runny nose and a cough, but no fever and acting completely normal. So it's possible she had it. We obviously didn't test her. Yeah. Since we had it, because I'm also not very careful, like with her, like food and stuff. So,
during this process, we really, really struggled to get work done. Struggled mentally. I mean, in terms of like just being so cooped up and a lot of uncertainty. To be honest, actually a ton of uncertainty. There was uncertainty on when we could get home. We really had no exit strategy. No alternative plan, because you would have to provide a negative test to get to one of the bordering countries. So even if, let's say, we rented a car, I don't know if you guys have seen the news, but the relationship between Russia and Ukraine isn't great. The good thing about what was happening is in the country, it was just business as usual. Like people were just, going on with their day. The problem is we were watching Western media and, it was tough.
Yeah. It was, things are getting worse. And here we are, not supposed to be there, not able to get out, not knowing when we could get out. And the thing that really freaked me out is Josh had talked to a friend who's a PA in the States, and he had talked about these long haulers, right? Long haulers, which is kind of like people who it just stays in their body. And no matter how many times they test and test and test, they keep getting positive like months later. And I was like, oh my gosh. Because at this point, Josh was negative. And I was like, what if that's me? And then Josh was like, what if I have I got a false negative or something like that?
And then we go back and then I test positive. I was really concerned about that.
So like when I came out first and I was negative, Josh was like, you're leaving. You're going home tomorrow, no matter what happens. But thankfully he was positive, or he was negative, and we could go back together. So I was concerned about the long haul thing, because it's like we're kind of stuck. We literally can't get anywhere without a test. Can't drive, can't fly, can't nothing, like nothing.
Yeah, we struggled super bad, and really the one good thing that came of it was that we finished Cobra Kai. We started and finished Cobra
the TV
Kai.
show Cobra Kai. There's nothing else.
That
to do.
was
It was a good series.
It's a good series.
I think the thing that makes it really hard is if we wanted to just like sit there and not leave our apartment or Airbnb or anything, it would have been fine. But the fact that like you can't and you know you can't, that makes it worse, right?
Yeah, I didn't struggle with that as much as I did like the uncertainty on when are we going to get home.
Yeah.
You know,
I was like, I need to get out. And I felt fine, completely fine, no problems. And then I was the one who was positive and Josh was negative, and I felt fine. So that was another thing that just drove me crazy. Like, how can I be testing positive over and over and over? And I'm fine. So that's kind of where we are. But we made it. We made it back. And now we'll answer questions from you guys.
Let's get to some questions. It's great to see so many people in the comment section chatting it up.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. What is up, Veronica? Joining. Thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.
And yeah, so if you guys have questions about any, like our experience with COVID, having it personally, but just like flying, leaving the EU, tests that we needed, mask requirements like that, go ahead and put those as questions.
Yep.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hey, Jim. Said bon dia and bonne nuit.
That's Maurice.
And then we have a boa tarde from San Francisco.
Yep. Do we have any questions?
Yep, he sees Veronica's there. Oh, cross chats. I'm just popping these up as we go until I find the question. Here we go.
Okay. I think you heard you say your vax cards. Have you looked into getting one of the fancy Euro digital vaccine proofs?
Okay, so we actually got our vaccinations while here in Portugal. So yeah, I mean that's the only vax card that we have.
It's the EU one though. Yeah, it's a QR code.
Yeah, we don't have a paper one like is issued in the States.
Right.
So yeah.
But I will
and it worked. It was a scannable QR code, so it worked everywhere we went. That scanned it.
Yeah, it does work everywhere. For those of you who have like a card in the US, when you come over here and you move over here and you get your SNS, your health number, you can get it switched to the QR so that you have that type of like the EU vaccination. So you can do all that stuff once you become residents here. So that is possible. Ooh, do we
Super chat.
Hi. Wow, that's quite a story. Glad you're back. Split the loose. Change as you please. We will. We definitely will.
Thank you.
All sorts of treats and stuff. Now that we're back and can walk around comfortably. Sia spent most of the day outside. Sia had her first swimming lessons today, so that was fun. And then we spent a lot of time at the playground. I think she does not like the cold as much.
No, she doesn't. She likes the snow.
She played in the snow
until it gets cold.
And then she would get, she just kind of hit this limit and it was too cold.
Yeah.
Unlike here where she will just play on the playground. Until you have to say, okay, it's time to go. Okay.
Bud says traveling is a huge pain.
It is different. Yeah. I think that like the thing that stinks is it's different. So everything you remember and how you knew it was, it's not going to be like that. And it's probably not going to be like that for a while. And it's kind of like when 9/11 happened and that just changed travel forever. This just seems like it's going to be the same. How that's going to look in 10 years, I don't know. But hopefully we're not wearing masks on airplanes in 10 years, I would say.
Yeah.
Jimmy, we just did a 5-day turnaround trip to U.S. to close on our home. The most stressful part was awaiting COVID results in order to fly.
100%.
Yeah, because you could have it and not even know you have it, So it's like,
especially with the current variant. I mean,
yeah. Oh, because it's much lighter, but like just more contagious. So I mean, so many people we know have just had it or have it right now, and I mean, it's crazy how it's spreading. But everyone stay safe.
Yeah.
Where'd you get your COVID tests on the road? Find a local pharmacy. Oh, that's a good question. So, I would say the only place we had to do it was in Kyiv, and it was just the pharmacies or labs. There it was more like they're like labs. I guess like a Unilabs would be here.
In Germany, though, in Frankfurt, they did have the kiosks, like
like pop-up, like they have those in Porto too. Yeah, like little tent pop-ups.
Actually, there were a lot of clinics that were advertising it too.
That. Yeah,
we everywhere. Walking around.
Everywhere seemed to advertise it, and a lot even put for like flying so showing that they did that certificate for flying. Yeah, and they translate to English too.
Let me clarify this: quarantine in Malta. Yeah. Quarantine in Malta because we were coming from outside of Europe, outside of the EU,
and the Ukraine was on the dark red list.
Yes.
So depending on what country you're coming from,
like Kalie said, dark red list meant that we couldn't come there or we couldn't go there for tourism. We had to have special permission, and we would still have to quarantine. So
even if we got in for some special reason,
we weren't about that.
Yeah. Travel these days is not for the faint of heart.
It ain't easy.
It's definitely different. I tell you what, and wearing the mask on the airplane, sometimes when it's a really long travel too, not very fun.
Yeah.
Allow planning to visit Porto in April, hoping it will be better. Yes, definitely hoping.
We'll try to keep you guys posted on the channel, and Kevin, let us know when you're going to be here.
Yeah. So you were in transit and they still wanted you cleared.
Yep.
Yeah, that's through London.
That's through London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They put us through as if we were leaving the airport.
Yeah.
I refuse to play these silly games to give these people money. Oh man, with the test though, like it's interesting too. Like, so when we were in the Ukraine and we were trying to get back, I just was looking anywhere in the EU, like to see if anyone had, you didn't need a test or an easier route or something like something else. Some of them were strict. Some of it was like it had to be a PCR. Some it had to be the antigen within 24 hours instead of 48. So Portugal was actually a little easier than some of the other countries, which I found interesting, but all of them, you needed a test.
And that was good for us because we wanted to get back to Portugal.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the places, Portugal, because the PCR is supposed to be a little more sensitive. So it's possible that you can do negative on the antigen, but still positive in the PCR because it's still in your body, I guess.
Yeah.
We went through Gatwick.
This was Gatwick.
Through Gatwick, which was crazy. So for one, the terminal wasn't printed on any of our information.
Yeah.
So we went up, back through departures, and it popped us into one terminal. And I just went to the guy and I said, and we were in a rush, and I said, "Hi, sorry, we're in transit. Not sure which terminal we're supposed to be going to." And he was like, "Well, this is the only one that's open." Yeah, he's like, "You're in luck. It's the only one that's open right now." And it was dead. We literally had no line at security at Gatwick for one terminal.
It was crazy.
I was shocked. For those of you who have ever flown through London, Gatwick, Heathrow, really.
Well, Heathrow is one of the busiest in the world.
I was just so shocked at how dead it was.
Yeah.
It was good for us that we got through quickly.
Snow is no fun.
And the snow is
Look, I think a lot of people think that snow is fun. It's the freezing cold temperatures without snow or when cold temperatures and it rains.
Yeah. No, but even the snow. It was fun for a little bit, but we are definitely happy to be back in the sunshine. And it is very warm and not rainy at all in Porto right now, which is great. Lots of sunshine, so it's really nice.
So I saw this one come through as we were talking about it, and so that's why I wanted to let you guys know that Valencia is good. Although we never had her tested, but yeah.
Really, like what she had was just a normal a common baby cold, and that developed the last day that we were leaving anyway.
Yeah.
The fever was one night, and she didn't even seem like it was bothering her. And kids have fevers and stuff because of teething and everything all the time. So she just was happy when we were inside.
Yeah. So this question here, how long did it take to both go clear? I think mine was 6 days.
Yeah.
Till I tested negative.
So you do yours, I'll do mine because I was.
No, it's 6 days.
Yours was 6 days?
6 days.
So then mine would have been.
From when I tested positive.
Mine was 6 days also.
Negative. Well,
same. Mine was 6. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
From when I tested positive, because I was negative at the lab at first. So it was 2 days later that I was positive. And then by the time I got that negative from the lab, it was 6 days later.
Yeah. All right. You guys are going to have to indulge me real quick.
What do you think Mikel Arteta can help us reach the top 4? Should we sack him?
I mean, I hope that Mikel Arteta can help us reach the top 4.
I don't think we should sack him.
I don't think that that we will, and I think we should sack him.
I don't think we should.
Yeah, he's in over his head.
He was before it started, so getting rid of him now, give him some time to prove himself.
You're not wrong.
Unless you're going to bring in someone top to replace him. If you're going to sack him and bring in some no name or someone who's not that good, what's the point?
Okay.
That's awesome. Glad to hear Valencia didn't suffer strong symptoms. Yes.
Thank you.
That's really great. Yeah. Because that's always a worrisome too, because at that point, then you're like, should we go to a hospital? Which if you want to explain the health insurance thing, people might have questions about the fact that we needed health insurance just for COVID in Ukraine.
I mean, if somebody asks, because it was silly.
USA embassy evacuated all U.S. citizens, so if necessary, could you have gone that route?
I honestly don't think so until we could have produced a negative test.
No, I think they would have evacuated us.
Do you really?
I do.
I don't know.
I think so because it would have been an emergency. So we would have we know that they
would have put an astronaut helmet on us or something.
I would have been fine with that as long as we could be on that plane out.
Breathe in this.
No, I think they would have evacuated us. But yes, we could have gone that route. We were tracking that
we were.
as well.
We actually, while we were there, enrolled in the STEP program. So that's Smart Traveler something. I don't know, emergency plan or program.
For U.S.
I don't know.
citizens, for those of you who are interested.
Yeah, so you can you can register trip details, and that means if any security alerts or any security statuses change in the countries that you're traveling in, you'll get a push notification or email, whatever, and it'll tell you what's happened and what the protocol is.
So if you have to evacuate, that's the main thing. If you have
they
to
know
evacuate,
where you are,
they know
so
that
they
you're
can-
there
yeah,
and that you
can
and where you
evacuate
are
you.
and what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have gone that route. Thankfully, we didn't have to, but we were thinking maybe, Would you plan this trip again, knowing what you know now?
Simon, thank you so much for asking us this. Yeah, we appreciate that. So, 100% I would travel again. However, the thing that I would do is I would not leave the EU.
Not right now.
Not right now.
I agree.
I would stay in the EU because you have multiple exit plans, if you will.
If you needed them.
If you needed them, you have the ability to fly, you have the ability to take the train, you have the ability to drive. And I think having that freedom of movement is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not fly if you couldn't do the negative test, but you could definitely drive.
I just mean like you have the ability to move around in that way. So yeah, if you were planning to fly somewhere and you were positive, and for whatever reason things were getting bad in that country, whatever it was, you would be able to drive.
Yeah. Or take the train.
Yeah.
I don't think they.
I mean, the downside is the downside is that with COVID and what's going on right now, especially with Omicron, a ton of people are getting it and just like not feeling like it was Delta. Like Delta, apparently you knew you had something, but like Kalie was completely asymptomatic, and and I just felt like I had a stomach bug, really.
Which he was having stomach issues after testing negative twice.
Yeah.
So we think that maybe the stomach thing was his immune system had lowered a bit or something, and then he picked up something else, and so it wasn't actually that.
Exactly.
That's a good question. I would love to say that I would do everything the same, and it is what it is. Stuff happened, but yeah, I mean, leaving. I think I still want to travel, but probably within the EU until countries drop the negative test as a requirement to get in.
Yeah.
Because that put us in a big bind.
Yeah, it makes it way too tricky. And, like we had the problem in Malta where we originally booked things and then Malta changed what they're looking for. Like, what are you supposed to do there?
Yeah, you're kind of stuck, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't, we didn't think to check that along the way, I guess. We could have checked it, but still would have been like a week early. And that probably wouldn't have changed our flight into Kyiv.
That's right.
So. Good question, though.
Great question. Glad we got that. Let's keep going. Thank you very much, Veronica. We love you back. We'll get you back on the channel on a live stream soon.
I guess stay away from Warsaw. No mask, too risky, too early. We had a great time.
Yeah, we had a great time there.
It's really pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have been where Josh picked it up.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is how are you supposed to know?
Maybe.
I mean, you're around so many people and just.
But it also could have happened in the Ukraine. I mean, in the Ukraine, it was fairly similar. It was fairly similar to Poland. Maybe a little more mask conscientious, but not much.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it was pretty similar, quite open as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you're all healthy. Did you get a recover from COVID certification? Maybe it's not needed since you're vaccinated. I know my friend in Austria has that certificate twice.
Ooh, twice.
Okay, so yeah,
go ahead.
I looked into it. Yes. So we're going to get it because now some of the newer requirements are you need the booster
after 6 months.
After 6 months, and we're still within that 6 months for our vaccine, but we don't want to have to have the vaccine and the booster and the recovery certificate. So if you get the recovery certificate instead of the booster, then I think it lasts you for like 6 months or so. I think it's 6 months.
6 months.
So I've looked into it. And yes, because we have one of the main things in Portugal is you have to have the lab, like a lab certified positive and then negative test.
Yeah.
So you can't just do it at
You can't just walk up and be like, hey,
I
this
did
is
it
my
at home.
stick.
You might be able to do go in and just go ahead and have them do the antibody test on you that you pay for, and then you can prove it.
True.
You might have to. I need to go into a Unilabs.
But you might have the antibodies from the vaccine.
But what if you didn't get the vaccine, but you got COVID?
Oh no, that's true.
That's true. So you haven't had the vaccine, but you got COVID. and you can still get that
I
recovery.
don't know how you could prove you didn't have the vaccine, like if you're from the US.
Yeah, I don't know, prove it, but I
Yeah.
guess from the EU they would know because it's
I
tied
caused a
to
bit
your
of silence
SNS.
there. Did you notice that? We
What?
were both like
Thinking about it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But we are looking into it. I think I remember reading somewhere that you had to at least be 7 days away from your last like negative test, which it hasn't been that long for. It's been about 7 days now since we've been back. So I'm gonna pop into Unilabs and find out. But yes, we want that certificate. Might as well.
Julia, thank you.
Hi, so glad you got home safe. We are on the Polish border in
awesome.
Lviv.
Lviv. I would love to go to
snowing.
Lviv. Lviv just sounded amazing
Mhm.
on the border on the border of Poland and Ukraine.
Mhm.
Seems really
We've heard
cool.
some great things about it.
Let us know about Lviv croissant.
We
you
did
try
go
any.
there.
I think they're a bit dry. Lviv croissants.
Smells so amazing.
They
in there.
look
It's like
great.
A nice
The
coffee
concept is brilliant. The
Yeah.
application is a little lackluster.
shape. I thought they were good.
Okay.
Oh.
Super
For
chat.
something.
For something.
We'll
Oh, we
find
appreciate
something
it.
for it.
Yeah, it's for our COVID test.
Oh, so I guess one thing that I could explain too, no one has actually asked, but
Maybe they did. We just
okay.
haven't gotten to them all.
Excuse me, with Ryanair,
They're
they will
jerks.
screw you over. Now, since they canceled our flight from Malta to Porto, then we could change it without any changing fees.
We could have changed it.
We could, when we did change it. The problem
Well,
was
yeah.
is we changed it and then we found out
Changed
we
it
couldn't even
again.
get to Malta. So at that point, since we had already changed it through them, we were screwed. Now, one thing that was really annoying is they say that they will reroute you back to your final destination.
Nice.
No, they would get us to Madrid and then they wanted us to book our own ticket from Madrid to Porto. And I spent a really long time on the phone with them. Their idea of an alternative thing we could have done is book someone else and then they'd reimburse us. But everyone else was like really expensive. And it's like, what happens if we book that and then you come up with some idea that
we didn't want to get stuck with a bill, basically, where they say, yeah, no, that doesn't work for us.
That's
that
not
doesn't
our
fit our
policy.
guidelines.
Yeah. So they don't let you cancel anything. They're definitely flights that like, oh, if you can't take your flight, you just don't show up and it's not a big deal. Like you got to eat that money.
We've kind of made it an internal policy to not book Ryanair unless it's absolutely necessary. We have probably spent over $1,000, across the course of our travels in flights that we've not been able to take because of Ryanair.
Not
shenanigans.
these travels.
Not these travels, but just since we started traveling.
Back in 2009
Ryanair
and
is
stuff.
the worst.
Because they always have good
Second
deals.
worst is EasyJet.
Good deals, and sometimes they're the only option. Anyway, so what we did is we booked TAP and their partners from
TAP
Ukraine to Portugal, and they it's stopped now, but it was like between like December 29th and January 15th, they were running this thing that if you at all had to change your flight, you could do it with no changing fees. You could get a refund, you could get a voucher, or you could change your flight. No problem.
Which we had to do that because
twice.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, we had to do it. So
we're waiting for our.
No, we got the voucher.
Oh, you
it
did.
took some time to get the voucher.
voucher.
That was the only bad thing is it took some time to get the voucher. So the voucher didn't come through before we were ready to book the flights because we were negative.
Yeah.
So we have a voucher for TAP that we can use.
Simon with another amazing
Next
question.
travel locations.
Next travel locations. I think we're probably going to be in Madrid in March.
Yeah. And then Josh's family's coming. We might be going to Greece with them. We've been to
Yes.
Greece several times, but we've been
Yes.
to Madrid too. But yeah, still staying in the EU, but still traveling.
We'll probably fly to Madrid.
Madrid, yeah.
It's hard with Valencia that long on a train.
Yeah.
And I don't want to drive. We went down to Faro over the past couple of days. Villamora, Algarve. It was so expensive.
Yeah,
between tolls and gas, it was so expensive.
But the rental car was cheap.
Rental car was cheap.
Can we fly to Portugal from New York right now if you're unvaccinated but can present a negative test? Yeah, they're not requiring the vaccine to get into the country. They're just requiring a test. And someone asked about the boosters. Some places now are requiring the boosters if your vaccine is like older than 6 months. So you have to have the booster as well.
We've known some people that have been turned away from establishments, but we've also known a few people that like they're a week or two past the 6 months, and the workers just kind of say, "Yeah, come on."
Yeah, so hopefully that's not going to be a requirement anyway.
We've also been to some places where they ask you for the vaccine, and then you start fumbling with your phone,
because you're going to get the QR code.
They're like, "Yeah." And we never actually show them or get them scanned.
Yeah, some don't even scan it. You just show it.
Yeah.
We booked Paris for March and December, and every time we check, the rules change. Did you find that to be the same? It seems to change daily. I think the things that are consistent is you need a surgical mask on the plane. And the test might change. I think that France, it was just the antigen test within 48 hours or PCR within 72. It wasn't one or the other. Some EU countries are requiring the PCR test, but I think France was open to either one.
Yeah.
The vaccine, whether you need it in a hotel or a restaurant or a test in a restaurant and stuff, that seems to be changing the most.
Yeah. Okay, so UB.
Please elaborate on Vax QR code thingy. I should have my visa in hand next trip to Portugal. I don't even know how I get my PT health card. Do I go to pharmacy stuff somewhere else? Okay.
PT health card?
I think because I said the SNS, your health number. Yeah, your health. Yeah. So you register and you get into the health system after finalize your residency.
Yeah,
because that's your SEF appointment. So you have to.
It's going to take some time for that.
You do your SEF appointment and then you can apply for your SNS, which is just your health number.
Yeah.
That puts you in the public system.
I would say for all of that stuff, after you arrive, you're probably 6 months out.
It depends on
from getting that done. It depends on when they've scheduled your SEF appointment.
You can get your number.
A lot of people are backed up.
It is really backed up.
Again.
Yeah, it's backed up 6 months.
Yeah.
It may be 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Yes, Orthodox Christmas is January 7th. Yep, we were there. We were there on the 7th, and that was always a plan for us to be there.
And then we tried to leave on the 8th, and they were like, no.
Yeah.
Well, COVID was like, no.
Yeah. I'm so glad y'all got back home and are safe. Thank you. Surprise.
We did.
Hello from Bristol. Hopefully you can get to Malta eventually. I'm looking forward to Portugal again in March, and we'll do one on our chest just to get out of the cold.
That's awesome. I think that we'll probably try to get to Malta.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe especially during the off season. It seems like the flights are good, and they have direct flights, and then also the hotels are pretty cheap.
Well, Ryanair is opening up that direct flight from Porto to Malta like 3 weeks after we needed it.
Yeah,
they're like,
and we'll probably take Ryanair.
They tried to put us on that one, and we're like, "Are you kidding me? Are you going to pay for 3 weeks in Malta for us?" Oh, yeah. Oh no, didn't think so. Good. At least you reached home, and it's a learning experience. You both are positive and strong mentally. Best wishes.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah.
I mean, Cobra Kai kept me sane.
It was a fun TV show if you guys haven't seen it. I'm flying to Amsterdam on Friday. At this point, they say no test. Whoa. Amsterdam is saying no test.
That's crazy.
Because
I think that's new from. I think we looked at them from Kyiv to Amsterdam. I think at one point.
And I looked at every single place, and it was all tests, but that obviously was a little bit ago.
It's good.
And well, I mean, the UK is opening up a lot too.
They are.
So that's great to know that no tests. That's nice, and hopefully it stays that way. They don't say it, and then like numbers go up, and so they go back to that. Ugh.
Yeah. See, this is what I was thinking about.
Well,
what Julie is saying.
The U.S. Embassy only helps with a travel loan if you qualify. No automatic evacuation for citizens. Find your own way out on public. Do they really? Because they always bill it as like they're going to evacuate you.
I think that's for like the actual for the workers and stuff.
Yeah. How can they not evacuate their citizens if it's like
I don't know.
What's the point?
Get it together.
What's the point of filling out that information?
I don't know.
Here, the country's being invaded.
Good luck.
I gave you the information.
So Jem's asking us, where do we live in Porto? Our address is we live just north of Trindade Station. So we're kind of in between Trindade and Faria Guimarães and Marques area.
Yeah, it's very central.
Very central.
But we're still looking to buy in Bonfim. Still looking.
Yeah.
Looking hard.
Where's the best place to catch an EPL game while in Porto? That's at our house. You'll get some authentic reactions over here. No, I mean, there are a couple sports bars. When Nortada's actually open, I like going there to watch games.
Screen,
They've got several big screens.
Craft beer.
And it's an open space, which is nice. There's a pub in Serofeita. There's O'Neill's. Yeah,
There's a decent amount
there's
that
a decent
show,
amount of
yeah.
places.
But we just got so used to with stuff being closed, like so we bought
We
the
bought all the
package,
things.
yeah, all the packages to watch them. So so we mainly just watch at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh, my wife says you could be making the big bucks modeling.
You know, Joseph, I can't. I tried that, and
he used to model back in the day.
They sent me packing. No, what it was
we went packing. What are you
we
talking
went
about?
packing.
We left.
Yeah, we left. They said that they could take me to Milan and all this, and I was like, "Let's go." And then they're like, "Just slow down, buddy." And I was like, "No, I'm ready to go."
Yeah.
So I left.
All right, I'm out.
I left.
That's funny.
And now, like, well, especially over the past month where we were traveling so much and I wasn't really in a workout routine at all.
Oh,
I put on.
We've joined a gym.
I put on some weight.
That's why Sia's doing swim. Well, the reason we joined the gym is so Sia could do swim lessons actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we'll get something out of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we
Fitter.
are. Yeah, I already did my little biometric type scan, and I have the body of a 19-year-old. My ratios.
And I was like, "Where are you hiding it?"
And he hasn't had his yet, so I said, "You better watch it."
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "You, sir." I'll report back to you guys.
Okay. So do y'all still recommend traveling now after all this drama?
If you can handle it. Again, if you're in the EU, don't leave the EU. That being said, I mean, 100%, I would not want to leave the EU. I mean, obviously, yeah, neither one of us felt terrible, but that's not to say like someone else's body would react differently, because it probably would. Yeah.
No, I mean, you didn't feel great.
No,
one day was just kind of like, I'm going to bed early.
But I mean, we've traveled a ton and gotten sick in a whole bunch of countries.
Yeah.
And it makes it sound like we have weak immune system. But that's just a part of it. You just kind of you deal with it. You're sick for a couple of days and you get on.
I have traveled on feeling very unwell from food poisoning stuff. So
so that's kind of
fine. So
that's kind of part of the game, isn't it? But we love traveling, and I think last year not being able to travel, because this was the first time that we traveled in a year, since arriving to Portugal,
and not the islands and stuff. Outside of Portugal. So we were I was so excited to be traveling again. So I would do it again. I think you just need to expect that it's going to be different. So you have to be patient. I mean, there's flight cancellations, there's just all these uncertainties. So just go into it with the possibility that something might happen, right?
So we both have stuffy noses.
You two sound a bit sick. Oh, yeah.
I took a COVID test this morning and I'm negative.
I was like, why would you take that? Like we were,
just trying to protect other people.
No, I think it's the difference of like, because we'd be inside and we'd have the heat going, and then in Kyiv we went outside and it'd be like really freezing cold. So I think that back and forth difference. I think.
Brian's asking. Are we planning any EU travel in spring or summer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So both of our sets of parents are coming to visit. So we'll probably travel with, we're planning to travel with my dad. Maybe we'll stay in the country with your parents.
Yeah, maybe.
But
then you also talk about going to Madrid as well.
Well, that'd be in March. Yeah. It's spring, I guess. Yeah. We love traveling. We love traveling and taking you guys along with us, if you don't mind.
Having to extend hotels or Airbnbs
and canceling stuff, or just eating flights and stuff.
Well, and then the other big thing is we had already planned the thing down. Go ahead.
That was probably the bigger thing. So if we're just looking at what was impacted during our traveling, we probably lost maybe $500. I'd have to count it up, $550. But last week we were supposed to go down to Algarve, to Villamora, and film something with a company there. And we ended up having to push that back because I told them like a week out, like, guys, we've got COVID. I don't know when we're going to be able to come back. And they just said, look, when you make it back to Portugal, then let's reschedule this thing. So we actually made it back the day before we were supposed to leave to go down there to Villamora. So we could have caught our flights, but we had already canceled it, and then we decided to shift it a week. Now, because of all that, we ended up renting a car. We drove from Porto down to Vila Moura, and then obviously drove back. And all of that was like 300 and something euros.
So kind of the domino effect to what happened with us being stuck meant that we couldn't get down to do this, that we had already booked all that stuff.
Yeah. You guys are about to hear an odd noise, and that is Pincho drinking water.
Pincho always sits on my lap during the lives, if you guys don't know. Normally he's quiet and doesn't do anything, but
yeah. So water. Brian asks if we've ever been to Lviv. We haven't, and we really want to go. Mm-hmm. We want to go there and Odessa. We would definitely go back to Ukraine. It's a really pretty place. However, I would want to go late spring, early summer, or just summer in general.
Because Kyiv is actually huge. It's a huge city, so there's lots to explore. Okay, Jackie, I was recently almost turned away from the cat cafe because the woman said you don't have the booster, but I'd gotten the booster, so I was good. Yeah.
Well, she just looked at you and were like, you don't have the booster.
You don't have the booster.
Like, how does she know?
Some are asking for the booster, and it's only effective 14 days after you get it.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so if you had gotten the booster and you're like, it was like 5 days ago, they're like, oh, no, you got to wait 14 days for it to be valid, I guess.
There's my guy.
Hi.
Eric Pratt. What's up, man? Glad you guys are on here and on the same time zone. That's right.
It's easier.
That's right.
My and Aaron are terrible for cancellations.
You know, Tony.
Yep. They don't help you out at all.
They don't. They're terrible.
In Phoenicia, restaurant supplied an instant test so we could eat there. Oh, that's really
brilliant.
Nice.
Did they make you pay for it though?
Oh, that's
let
a
us
question.
Know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rare. But if they're allowing just the ones to do it in front, then you can always have those in your purse or bag or something just in case.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just rolling through these. Sorry.
We're coming in on an hour.
We are.
Want to wrap it up soon?
Yeah. Guys, sorry.
Look at that. Stacey says she got her SNS number before that's crazy. Before your CEF appointment. You just needed your CEF appointment. What happens if something went wrong with your CEF appointment and they didn't give you your residency? You already had your number.
That's interesting.
It is interesting.
We need to look into that.
Did you, Stacey, and you can message me about this too. Did you try to use that number? Like, did you have to go to the hospital or doctor or something before you actually got your residency? Because normally at those places, they ask for your residency card. Even though you have your number, they still want your residency card too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I need to know what I need for the CEF appointment other than my visa, as all my other info was already submitted when I came over. Now here a month.
You've got a checklist for that, but also we have a video on it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we did a video on it.
We did it live, I think, didn't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, send me an email and I can send you the link for the video and my checklist too. It's pretty straightforward though. It's not bad. I mean, I know a lot of people have their like binders and stuff, and generally you don't need all that stuff. It's good to bring it just in case, and then check it when you're done. Hi.
Super chat. Thanks, Veronica.
Thanks,
we
Veronica.
Appreciate it. Stacey says that she's going to write you about it.
That's interesting. I would like to know more about that.
Yeah. So
because I think that's okay.
Go ahead.
No.
Yeah. So I was just going to say we're at an hour, so we're going to wrap up. Oh my goodness.
What's this?
That's more vitamin D. Thank you for the super chat. That's hilarious. We did, and it was expensive. It was expensive to buy vitamin D.
It was that and zinc. I think was with two that we were just. I mean, I was like, it was like one a day, and I was just like, oh, come on, vitamin D, because we were getting it from the sun.
yeah, that's true. One last question: when travel back to the States, what does the pup
need? So, if you're traveling from here to the States, all you need is your health certificate with your rabies information on it. But when you come back, if your pup doesn't have the EU passport, you have to go through the USDA to get all that information. If your pup has been registered in the EU, then all you need is the EU passport to get back in the EU. You can email me. I know all those details if you need me to clarify.
Yep. Veronica, thank you so much. You're so funny. She said she missed the 0. We appreciate it. That's hilarious. You guys are great.
Okay. You were getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah. And then we got this question. ATM stuck at the moment. So
where are you guys stuck? Oh,
stuck at home.
Yeah.
No, we're not stuck. We're COVID free and back in Where
Back
are
in
we? Back in
Porto.
Porto.
Yep.
My goodness, what
Back
are you
at
guys
it.
doing? You guys going crazy with these super chats.
Treats for the
my
baby.
goodness,
Oh,
thank
she's
you
gonna
so
love
much.
it. Her big thing that she got really on as well, like while we were traveling, croissant,
Croissant,
croissant, croissant.
croissant,
She would say croissant, croissant. So she's really into the croissants. But I'm very happy that she likes the Porto croissants the most.
She does.
She does. I do too. She's
Yeah,
like a mama.
Porto's croissants are like, they're doughy,
And dense.
very dense.
They're not
flaky
like
and buttery.
French. Yeah.
I prefer flaky and buttery.
No, I like the Porto ones, and so does
Yeah.
Sia. So she'll say croissant, croissant.
I'm feeling fine apart from this like stopped up
Congestion.
nasally thing, but it's not COVID because I tested again this morning.
No, I think it's just back and forth between the heat and the cool when we were in.
Dried out.
And actually, Sia and I got it first, and so I think we just kind of maybe passed something on to him.
Oh.
Might want to stay on 5 minutes. The pay button is being.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Now, we appreciate it so much that you all want to support us monetarily and just being here and hanging out with us. So it's awesome. And we really apologize for slowing down on our uploads because normally we're kind of a 2 a week type of channel. But yeah, we just slowed down and tried to figure out what's going on with this whole YouTube thing over the past month. And then also COVID slowed us down.
Well, extremely out of routine. I mean, just at the Airbnb,
hard.
It was hard to get us set up to work, and the motivation too is just like because you're just out of routine. So
and
like,
Cobra Kai was right there.
And I was like, should we answer emails tonight or should we watch 5 more episodes of Cobra Kai?
Yeah. I just wanted to put him in a body bag. Put him in a body bag.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
you're funny.
I know. But we're going to try to get back into the swing of things and get more videos out to you guys. We appreciate the heck out of all the support and watching and sharing this stuff. If you know other people that aren't on the train yet of wanting to live abroad and experience this stuff, please share our channel with them and get them on the train. Let's go.
Also too, as we traveled, we did shoot a lot of content. So we're going to be putting out some stuff about our travels, some vlogs, some interviews about the different cities, the different countries. So just to give you guys some more stuff outside of Portugal, but then of course putting stuff in Portugal as well. But for those of you who are interested in seeing some other content, we will have that too.
And until then, let's get moving.
Bye.